about his misinterpreting what has happened recently. Let's go back a little more than a year. I wonder how many people in this room or on this very important senatorial committee really anticipated that one day Putin would land military personnel in Crimea and seize it. I think if anybody said that's what he's going to do, he or she would be labeled as a warmonger. He did it, and he got away with it. Right. I think he's also drawing lessons from that. And I'll tell you what my horror night dream is, that one day, and I literally mean one day, he just seizes Riga and Tallinn, Latvia and Estonia. It would literally take him one day. There's no way they could resist. And then we'll say how horrible, how shocking, how outrageous. But of course we can't do anything about it. It's happened. We're not going to assemble a fleet in the Baltic and then engage in amphibious landings and then storm ashore like in Normandy to take it back. We'll have to respond in some larger fashion perhaps, but then there will be voices, well, but this will plunge us into a nuclear war. Yeah, I think deterrence has to have meaning. It has to have teeth in it. And it has to create a situation in which someone planning an action like that has no choice but to anticipate what kind of resistance will I encounter. And this is why I recommend what I do recommend. Pre-positioning of some forces, limited so it's not provocative. You know, an American company in Estonia is not going to invade Russia. And Putin will know that. But he will know that if he invades Estonia, he will encounter some American forces on the ground, and better still, some Germans, some French, so Brits, of course. I think if we do that kind of stuff, we are consolidating stability, including nuclear one. And the same goes for the ongoing conflict in Russia and Ukraine. I don't think Putin plans to invade Ukraine as a whole, because that would be too dangerous, and you cannot simply predict what will happen. But this continuous pinpricking can involve some escalation. It has already involved escalation. There are Russians, at least in the hundreds, according to some NATO accounts, in terms of several thousand, fighting within Ukraine against an established country. This is something that cannot be ignored. So economic sanctions, yes, in the long run, they create an attitude, a concern in Russian society, which will deprive Putin of his popular support. And this ecstatic sense, we have become a superpower again. But in the short run, we have to deal also with his motivations. And the only way to do that is to indicate to him by tangible steps, such as defensive arming of the Ukrainians, that we will be involved in some fashion in making that military engagement more costly. And at the same time, to indicate to him that we're prepared to settle, send him a signal about non-NATO participation for Ukraine. That, to me, is a strategy of responding to the possibility that you very rightly raise.